Hey there, I'm Ron Sneller, registered financial consultant, investment advisor representative, and founder of Sneller Financial Services. Thank you for taking the time to tune into this educational course. If you're like a lot of Americans right now, you're very concerned about what's going on in this country. Everything from the political scene to big tech censorship and the mainstream media narratives. And financially speaking, people have seen the writing on the wall. They're concerned that tax rates are going to be much higher in the future. They've seen the volatility in the stock market and even how the market is manipulated. We can look at the recent situation with GameStop and AMC stocks for an example. So, more and more people are seeking alternative ways to save for their retirement and to create their retirement income outside of the traditional ways of investing and retirement planning. So today, I'm going to introduce you to a concept called the capital equivalent value of life insurance. We're going to look at the cash flow of a life insurance contract and compare it to the income produced by the traditional 401k. Now, most people don't think of life insurance as a cash flow tool, but we're using a special type of life insurance, a policy that is specifically designed not for maximum death benefit, but for maximum cash value and maximum cash flow. I like to call it life insurance on steroids. And it's a very important distinction though. Are you investing for cash flow or for net worth? Because the traditional model, the 401k, well, that's a great accumulation tool. But the problem is that it's a terrible distribution tool. And it's terrible at producing income because of market volatility and taxes. So we need to determine which tool is going to give us more money to spend in retirement. And so I'm using a case study analysis of a program that I designed for a client of mine. He's 55 years old and has about 10 years left to work. Like many Americans that I mentioned earlier, he's concerned about stock market volatility and he's become disillusioned with all of the manipulations of Wall Street. In addition, as a high income earner, he's concerned about where tax rates are going to be in the future when he retires. So instead of deferring taxes until later, he wants to pay the income tax now while they're low and then move his wealth off the radar of the IRS for income tax purposes. So we're going to break down his policy. So let's start by walking you through the accumulation phase where he's funding his plan. So during the accumulation phase, he's actually going to still take advantage of his company's 401k match because they do match 4%, and that's just kind of like free money. So he's going to take advantage of the match, but he was really overfunding his policy before. So now he's going to take a lot of those additional resources, set them aside into this life insurance contract. And so he's going to contribute he's going to contribute $25,000 a year for 10 years. Now, the first thing that's going to happen, because this is a life insurance contract, so it's going to create a death benefit of about $500,000. So God forbid, if the good Lord calls him home and he doesn't make it to retirement, this plan is going to complete itself. It's going to provide $500,000 of tax-free money to his wife and to his children. Now, obviously, that's a worst case scenario. And the reason that we're using a life insurance contract really isn't for the death benefit at all. It's for all of the other benefits that are involved with using life insurance. And we'll explain those benefits here very shortly. Now, let's fast forward into the future, right? Because he doesn't have a lot of time left ahead of him. He's got 10 years. So contributing $25,000 per year for 10 years, I want to show you the projection. So the projection with dividends, and now I should stop and say, just as a disclaimer, life insurance dividends are not guaranteed. However, life insurance companies are very conservative when they project their dividends. They don't give you some pie in the sky like, oh, we hope we're going to earn you this. No, they just simply project what the dividend rates are today and run those into the future as if they'll never increase. So they're pretty conservative. Anyway, his projection, contributing $25,000 per year for 10 years. So he contributes a total of $250,000 into this contract, at the end of 10 years, he will have a whopping $253,000. Now, at this point, you are probably thinking the exact same thing that I was when I was first introduced to this concept. Why in the world would anybody do this? That's a lousy rate of return. You only made a few $1,000s. You could have done that by just sticking your money in the bank. Great question. So why would anybody do this? Well, it's because true wealth isn't just about chasing rates of return. It's not about building a big net worth. It's about the cash flow. How much money do you have in your hand to spend? And I know that it seems counterintuitive, but a large net worth does not necessarily mean higher cash flow. You see, cash flow insurance is an absolute beast at kicking off cash flow, while the 401k is extremely inefficient at doing that. You'll see what I mean here shortly. So this is the paradigm shift. Where your money is parked is much more important than the rate of return that you earn on that money. Let me say that again. Here's the paradigm shift. Where your money is parked is much more important than the rate of return that you earn on that money. Because true wealth isn't about chasing rates of return. True wealth is about considering the entire scope, the entire picture. And that's determined by, number one, the distribution mechanism. How efficient is the distribution? Number two, how are those distributions treated by the tax code? And then number three, a hidden consideration that many advisors miss. How will those distributions affect your other government retirement benefits, such as Social Security and Medicare? So now we're going to move on to the distribution phase, because that's where this gets really exciting and where this product or this strategy really shines. So I mentioned step number one, the distribution mechanism. How efficient is it at kicking off cash flow? So for this particular client, he wanted to maximize his cash flow in systematic withdrawals over a 20-year period, almost like a 20-year pension. Now, there are other ways that you can do it, other ways that you can structure the cash flow, but for his situation, 20 years is what made the most sense to him. So that's what we went with. Now, here's the thing. Once these policies are fully funded, they are supercharged to just kick off massive cash flow. My client will be able to receive more than a 7% distribution rate from his contract. So he'll receive $18,000 per year from this life insurance contract. And life insurance, because of the way it's treated by the tax code, is completely income tax exempt. It's not even reportable on an income tax return. So that means this $18,000 per year is $18,000 of spendable net money, because there's no taxes coming out of it. Now let's look at that amount, $18,000. Well, is that good? Doesn't seem like that much money. Well, remember that good is a relative term here. It's good compared to what? Remember, we haven't been saving in this policy for our entire lives. It's not like we've been contributing to this policy for 40 years. We've only been saving in it for 10 years, which is a very short time frame for saving and investing. So let's compare it then to the traditional way of saving for retirement in the 401k. And the thing is, with the 401k, we have to start with the end in mind. And that is my big gripe with the 401k, is that most people don't begin with the end in mind. They simply start contributing to it because they've heard that they're supposed to. And they've got no end game or no exit strategy. They've got no retirement spend down plan, and they have no idea how the distribution works or how the taxation works. So again, starting with the end in mind, our 401k analysis, it has to be able during retirement to match the life insurance contract. So starting with the end in mind, we start with what we want or what we desire, which is $18,000 per year of after-tax spendable income. And so what we're going to do is we're going to reverse engineer, working backwards, to how big of an account we need to build in our 401k. And we can continue to run calculations to determine what rate of return we would need to earn on the new money going in over the next 10 years. So again, starting with $18,000 of after-tax spendable income, we know that when we withdraw from a 401k, we have to pay the taxes. So that's the first thing that we have to do is work backwards to calculate the gross withdrawal. Now, I'm using assumed tax brackets of today with a 12% federal tax bracket and a 4.25% state of Michigan. Now, look, I know what you're thinking, but Ron, the government's $28 trillion in debt. Social Security is broke. Medicare is insolvent. The printing presses are running round the clock. Tax rates are going to have to go way up. Look, I get it. I'm with you and I agree, but I want to be conservative and just use today's tax rates because there's really no way of estimating exactly what those tax rates will be in the future. But just understand that when tax rates go up, it will greatly increase the capital equivalent value number that we come up with. The 401k will need to gain an even higher net worth and an even higher rate of return than I'm about to show you. So in short, the higher the tax rates go in the future, the more valuable the life insurance plan becomes. So anyways, let's continue to reverse engineer this. Okay, so working backwards, when we calculate those tax rates, we can calculate that the withdrawal needed would be about $21,500 gross. And now we have to work one step backward to know how much money do we have to build up in our 401k account to be able to safely distribute cash flow to get that gross amount. So we need to know what are the safe withdrawal rates. And that number is 4%. 4% is the safe withdrawal rate. Well, how do I get that? Well, it's not something that I'm just making up. It's based on research by economists and financial institutions. In 2013, after a period of tremendous stock market volatility and low interest rates, Morningstar partnered with the American College of Financial Services to take a fresh look at the historical stock market and bond market data and what the safe withdrawal rates are. Now, what you have on your screen right now is a chart looking at different retirement lengths and periods and different asset allocations. So we're looking at a comparison with the popular 60-40 portfolio. That's 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds. Now, most Monte Carlo simulations look at a 30-year retirement period. So you'll see some lower withdrawal rates circled in already. But my client, he's using the cash flow insurance for a 20-year time period. So we want to be fair and compare apples to apples. And that's going to give us a higher corresponding safe withdrawal rate. So the 20-year period, and actually the gold standard on the way that the safe withdrawal rates are measured, they actually look at a 90% chance of success. Not 99%, not 100%, but a 90% chance of success that you won't run out of money. So based on all of that criteria with the 20-year retirement horizon, we are looking at a 4% safe withdrawal rate. Now, you may be thinking, why so low? Doesn't the stock market usually return 6, 8, 10% per year? And it does usually, but this is why. What you're seeing on your screen, because of the incredible volatility that the stock market can see in the short term. Over the last 20 years, we've had 2 separate crashes of 50%. And during those downtimes, as a person is drawing out of their portfolio during a down market, it could decimate their nest egg, causing them to run out of money. So the safe withdrawal rates are a way to pace yourself throughout retirement so you can take income through the ups and take your income through the downs and then have that reasonable chance of not running out of money. So that's where they get the safe withdrawal rates from. And so again, continuing on with the reverse engineering, using the safe withdrawal rates, what is the capital equivalent value that we would need to build up within our 401k to equal the after-tax spendable income that this life insurance policy will provide? Drum roll, please. $537,000. $537,313 is the capital equivalent value of life insurance. This is the amount that you would need to accumulate in order to distribute the 4% per year to get the $21,500 and then pay the taxes to net that same $18,000 per year that the life insurance contract is giving you. So now we have to go through and see, is the 401k a better decision than the life insurance, or is the life insurance a better decision than the 401k? What rate of return would we need in our 401k to make this happen, to grow our balance on the new money going in, to grow it by $537,000? Well, thankfully, I've already done the math for you. So let's pull up our trusty compound interest calculator. This is a great tool that you can find at moneychimp.com, compound interest calculator. And as we see, our annual addition is $25,000 per year over 10 years. And we need to come up with an amount that's going to be about $540,000 in order to beat the life insurance cash flow. And that rate of return, 14%, a 14% net rate of return is what would be needed over the next 10 years to beat the life insurance contract. So again, looking at just going through the performance requirements, our assumed savings plan is $25,000 of annual contributions for 10 contribution years. In order to accumulate more than $537,000, the performance needed would be 14% net after fees. Because remember, mutual funds aren't free. Financial advisors and financial institutions, they don't work for free. That costs money. And those fees come out of your account. And so your performance has to be enough to make up for those fees. But just lowballing here, let's say that you were only being charged a 1% fee. That means that you would need, on average, consistently for 10 years, to average a 15% gross real rate of return. And I don't mean average rates of return. Average rates of return are a lie. They're a misleading number that a lot of the Wall Street pundits use to make you think that you're doing better than you really are. So you give them even more of your money, or maybe give them all of your money. I've done other videos on this, and I don't have time to go in depth or in detail right now, but just know that there's more to that. So that acronym that you see on your screen, CAGR, that stands for compounded annualized growth rate. That is the true return of the stock market. So that's what I'm talking about here. The capital equivalent value of life insurance, the rate of return needed would be a 15% gross real rate of return. Now, is that predictable? Is that even probable? So not only is the capital equivalent value of the cash flow equal to about 15% rate of return, there's no actual market volatility. And as you take the distributions from the life insurance contract, there's no federal income tax due. There's no state income tax due. There's no local income tax due. The distribution is not counted in the provisional income calculation that determines how much of your Social Security benefits are taxable. And the distributions are not counted in the Medicare surcharge tax. And quite frankly, legally, under the laws of the tax code, these distributions have nowhere to be filed on an income tax return. So here's the thing. I can save $250,000 in a cash flow insurance contract, carve the taxes out of it, and spend it as if it's twice as much. And I don't have any market risk. I don't have any index that I have to follow. I don't have any complicated investment plans or schemes or ongoing investment fees. And guess what else? Because it's not reportable as income, as far as the possibility of higher tax rates in the future, I don't care who gets into the Oval Office. So repeat after me. Life insurance is not a 15% rate of return, but the tax code will allow you to spend it as if it is. So in summary, by utilizing the assets of cash value life insurance, you're able to build as much wealth as possible off the radar of the IRS for income tax purposes. You're able to access this growing capital during your working years without the 10% IRS penalty. You're able to create predictable retirement cash flow and not pay a cent of income tax. And because there's life insurance attached to the plan as well, it can help to create generational wealth where your heirs can receive a death benefit and they won't pay a cent of income tax. And now you're beginning to see why the wealthy use these plans.
You're beginning to see why large corporations use these plans to fund their executive bonus plans, and why the big banks are the largest purchasers of cash value life insurance. For example, on your screen right now is the balance sheet of Bank of America. These are just matters of private record, or excuse me, of public record. Anybody can go find them. Bank of America has $22 billion of cash value life insurance, and they hold it on their balance sheet as a tier one asset. You see, the financial institutions and their talking heads like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, they won't tell you about this. And they certainly won't tell you that the top wealthiest 1% owned 22% of all cash value life insurance assets. They tell you to turn over control of your money to them so they can manage it and they can make all their fees from it. But life insurance is about putting you back in control so you can have liquidity and utilization as you build your equity. Do you want to take all the risk? Do you want to pay all those fees and pay all those taxes? Or do you want to sleep well at night? Now, we've come to the end of this case study analysis. And so I have to put my disclaimer up here for a second. But if you like this idea or this strategy of funding your own cash flow insurance plan, you can contact me for a free, no obligation strategy session. My contact information is on your screen. I have never had more fun in my entire career than I am right now, teaching and educating people how to take back control of their money from Wall Street, from the financial institutions, and from the IRS. I'd love to personalize a plan for you based on your specific situation to show you how to produce an income stream outside of Wall Street and off the radar of the IRS for income tax purposes. Implementing this strategy as the foundation of your program can help maximize the efficiency of your entire plan and all your other investments as well. Thank you for taking the time to watch this course, and I wish you the very best on your journey to happiness, to health, and to financial prosperity as well. I look forward to speaking with you. God bless.